Hey, how's it going, guys? So a couple of things I want to talk about, right? Very, very interesting times, and yeah, a lot going on. So I don't even know where to start. I'm gonna start off with Australia because I just talked about that a couple of days ago, and I said Australia allowed this to happen because of ABC, right? We're gonna find out which one, like they're going to tell us why they allowed this attack to happen on their own people in Australia, and they're going to show us within the next couple of days, right? I didn't give a reason why they allowed it to happen. I said they're going to show us and tell us why they allowed this to happen, right? So they finally came out. I think it was last night or this morning. And essentially, the reason they allowed two people, son and father, known terrorists, sympathizers, to commit this horrendous killing of people, well, it always defaults to the same two reasons: more gun control and censorship. Gun control and censorship always defaults to the same reasons, right? So they finally came out today or last night. One of them, who cares? But they came out and they announced that they're going to be passing new gun control laws, which, by the way, they already have some of the strictest laws throughout the world. And now they're going to be clamping down on people's free speech, just as they're doing in the UK, France, and other EU countries. And they're going to start prohibiting protest. I said, give it some time, right? The incident happened on what, Saturday, Sunday. I said Monday or one of those days. Um, that give it a couple days. They're gonna come up with their solution, and their solution to fix this problem is gonna be the reason why they allowed it to happen. They allowed it to happen because of whatever they're gonna come up with. Their solution is more gun control. So essentially, they're going for any and all guns in Australia. The second reason was censorship, and this is actually the main one, because they already have extreme gun control laws. This is actually the main reason they're coming up. They're coming after people's ability to speak freely, and then this is a third. They're going to start shutting down protests. Mark my words. Mark my words. Mark my words. Australia allowed this to happen. They allowed this to happen the same way that Israel allowed October 7th to happen, the same way America allowed 9/11 to happen. Australia allowed this to happen, so the ends justifies the means. And the ends they want is censorship, gun control, and they want to shut down any and all protest. Every single time, guys. Every single time. My fruit smoothie, bro. That's my breakfast and lunch. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say I was surprised. It's always gun control and it's always censorship. They always go hand in hand. You cannot have censorship without gun control. You just can't. If people, even a small percentage of people, have guns, you cannot truly and sincerely have censorship. So one always follows the other. They start with the guns, they move to censorship every single time. Okay? And this is going to take me to my second topic, which is going to be the most controversial. And I'm talking about it's going to piss people off. It might piss you off. It is what it is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Grok a question. Pulling it up because I already looked it up, right? But I'm pulling it up. And here's the thing, guys. I am now convinced. I am now convinced that there is no difference between, gosh, it's so hard to say, but yet it needs to be said. I am now convinced that there is very little daylight between the teachings of Islam and the teachings of Judea. I think they are two peas in a pod. I think it's so hard to say, but it needs to be said. I think both of them are working hand in hand. I think Judaism or whatever you want to call it, however you want to pronounce it, don't care. And the Muslims, I think they don't even know it, right? So when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about the normal standard 95% of people, right? A lot of good people that are Jewish people, a lot of good people. And I'm not talking about, the Muslims. 95% of them and down are really good people. They're just good people. They want to live their life. They want to believe what they believe. They don't want to go around and enslaving people. They don't want to have people as sex slaves. They don't want to do none of that. To them, that's stupid. That's extreme. That's crazy. I am talking about the people at the top of these religions. I'm talking about the planners, the movers, the strategists, the operators. I am talking about the very elite and echelon of both religions. They are working hand in hand. They are manipulating their own people. They are manipulating them. Islam is Judaism. Judaism is Islam. There's no difference, guys. There is no difference. Look it up yourself. Look it up yourself. Muslims pray 5 times a day. Jews pray 3 times a day. They have the same prophets, the same figures, the same belief in angels, judgment day, afterlife, rejection of Jesus, Jesus's divinity, right? They practice the same dietary laws, which is halal, halal, circumcision, prayer practices. It's all similar. Modesty in dress, charity and ethics, fasting and holy sites. They both come from Abrahamic heritage. All of it. They don't believe in usury, right? They are the same religion, guys, with a twist, with a little sprinkle of pepper. They are a salt shaker with a grain of rice in there, just to keep the moisture out. They're the same religion. Man, let me go even further. The people at the very top of the food chain, when it comes to, the Jews, they are the white collars. White collars, not collars. Come on, I didn't say it right. White collars. The people at the very top of the Islam religion, they are the blue collars. It's like military. You have enlisted and you have officers. The people that run the Jewish faith from the very echelons, they are officers. And I'm going to reference, the Navy, because I was in the Navy, so I can, provide, an example there. The people at the very top of the Muslim religion, Islam, they are the chiefs, the master chiefs, the warrant officers. You have the top down from the elites on the Judea side. You have the bottom up from the Islam side. Let me show my hands, right? And they're squeezing. They're squeezing like a sandwich. So there's an approach called top down, bottom up, inside out. You put extreme top pressure, extreme bottom pressure, and you cause the inside to implode. And then from that, you get your desire, which is to rebuild into whatever it is you want to rebuild. I am convinced we all have been manipulated. We all have been manipulated to think that there's a war against Islam and Jews, and there's not. The war is them against everybody else. And all the people in the middle of both religions don't even know they're being used. Because they don't know. They don't know the trickery that's there. It's being played on all of us, guys. Islam's job, the Muslims, is to convince a lot of really poor souls that have been deprived of freedom, love, women, the things that are worth living in life. A lot of the vast majority of Muslim men, they're not in relationships. They're not allowed to because they're just not. Why do you think they're so excited to die and do something in the name of Allah so they can go to the afterlife and have 72 virgins? Why do you think that is? I'm not willing to die and go to the afterlife and get 72 virgins. I got my wife, and I get to touch her as much as I want, right? Does she say no once in a while? Of course. She's a woman. She's not going to be in the mood all the time. Sometimes, she's going through her menstrual cycle and it's just not convenient. Sometimes it's just life's too busy. But for the most part, I get mine at least 3 times, 4 times a week. Imagine if you're an incel and all you want as a man, because this is what all men want, all you want is to touch a woman, smell a woman, be next to a woman, because women are amazing. The beauty of a woman, the sensation of being inside a woman is unlike anything else. You'll have a heart attack in that process, and you don't care. That is a way to die happy. If I ever die, I want it to be in the middle, in the middle of intercourse, right as I'm busting, and I want my heart to be like, bah, 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 bah. That's the perfect way to die. Go out like a champ. There's no greater way to die for me. That or doing something extremely heroic to save my family. That's it. There's no 2 greater ways. Judaism is Islam. Islam is Judaism. They're the same people. The 95% of Jews and Muslims, they have no idea they're being used. They have no idea that they are the foot soldiers and that the elites of both sides are playing everybody. I don't know if the world knows. I imagine there's somebody extremely smart out there that figured this out before me, but probably too afraid to say it. But the world is being played. The Muslims, their job is to do the foot soldier job. The Jews, their job is to call the shots. Officers enlisted. I am convinced. I am 1,000% convinced. I'm more than willing to hear an opinion. And I know most people will be like, that's insane. Muslims are always trying to kill Jews. Are they? Are they really? Yeah, do they kill Jews? Yeah, because you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. You have to show proof that there's animosity there. Right? But for the most part, Muslims kill other Muslims. They don't kill Jews. Muslims kill other Muslims, right? And so what they do is they start exporting these people across the world. So that way the people in these other countries become targets. And then what happens? Bad things happen. Somehow, some ways, some random Jew just shows up in the middle of this massacre. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, this was a targeted killing and he was a Jew. Anti-Semitism, anti-this, right? Next thing you know, you have problem. Let me turn that. Problem, reaction, solution. We need more censorship. We need to pass more anti-Semitism laws. We need gun control. We need this. We need that. You know who doesn't have gun control? Israel. Every fucking person in the state of Israel has a gun. Everybody. They're all forced to serve in the military and then they walk around with guns. Israel has the most guns than any other country per capita per citizen. If somebody's not walking around with a gun, it's only by choice. You understand? But everybody's got a freaking gun. Not only do they walk around with guns, they walk around with freaking long rifles, guys. So who's really trying to be disarmed? Well, it's the rest of the world. Problem, reaction, solution. It's kind of like our Republican and Democrat Party prior to MAGA. It's a one-party system. You have two faces of the parties playing their role. You have the Mitch McConnells and the Nancy Pelosi's pretending to have differences and fight. But what do they do at the end of the day? They go out and have lunch together, drink their champagne, their wine. Ha 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 ha! These stupid fools. Nothing gets done for you, but everything gets done for them. Everything gets done for the people that they want things to get done for. We're being played, guys. And the sad part is 95% of Jewish people have no idea. 95% of Muslims have no idea. But they have the same teachings. Did you know that, Islam and Judea were created by brothers? Brothers who were born to Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac. Right? Supposedly they had differences. They went their own way. One created, Islam, Ishmael, Islam, right? You just move around two letters. Ishmael, Islam, Isaac, Israel. But they were born of the same father, with the same teachings. They had the same upbringing. And isn't it funny how the two people you cannot talk about are, without extreme consequence? You can't talk about Allah. And you can't talk about the Jews in general. So really, you can't even talk about the Quran or anything, or you can't talk about Judaism. You can't say anything negative because you're an anti-Semite, or you're anti-Muslim, you're anti-this, and you're deserving of, death, censorship, imprisonment. Two peas in a pot, guys. Two peas in a pot. There is a partnership, but they don't know it. And when I say they, I'm talking about the 95% of people that participate in those religions. They don't know it. They don't know that they're being used. They don't know that they're not really enemies. Because they're not thinking about, I hate Jews. I hate Muslims. What they're thinking about is, man, I got to get to work. I got to get my kids to school. I got to clean the house. I got to start cooking. I need to pay the bills. 95% of both sides, Muslims and Jews, are good people. And they have no idea that they're being played. And then you have the rest of the world. We have no idea that we're being played as well. You might have the elites that know, right? You might have the elites. But outside of them, nobody else knows. We believe that they are different. They're not. They're a single snake with two heads. And one more time, I'm not saying Muslims are bad. I'm not. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of Muslims, right? There's a decent sized percentage of Muslims in Texas, where I'm from. And man, they're some of the nicest people, some of the most polite people. They don't want to bring harm. They don't want to hurt nobody. They just want to live their freaking life, guys. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Jews. Good people, man. They just want to live their life. But then you have the people at the top who are manipulating, creating this story, right? They're creating this story for you. And they're creating action scenes of hate, of violence, death, right? And then something just happens. A Muslim does something, and then, oh my God, all of a sudden a Jew dies, or two. And all of a sudden, you have a problem. And then here comes the state, the government of that country, with a solution. We need stricter gun laws. We need anti-Semitism laws. You cannot say anything bad about the Jews because this is very slippery ground. Look what happened. So now they're pushing free speech laws, censorship laws. And they call them hate speech, right? We are against hate speech. Problem, reaction, solution. We've been played. We've been played, guys. It's the craziest thing, man. And when I came to this realization about a week ago, but I just wanted to just make sure I wasn't seeing things that weren't there. But I see it. And it's clear. I'm 99.9999999% sure that I am right. We have been played. Muslims are Jews, Jews are Muslims. They are the same people. There's a sliver of daylight between them. And they're all being played. Some Jewish people get sacrificed. Some Muslims get sacrificed. Their ultimate goal is the same goal. It's the same goal, guys. And I'll tell you what it is. It's right here. I want to read it verbatim. It's the return of the prophet. It's the return of God. Both of them are trying to initiate. They are trying to initiate the return of God. But in order to do that, you have to sow chaos, death. You have to make things bad. Because, and according to their religion, only God will only return once things are bad enough. And then he'll set things about for 1,000 years of peace under a single religion. I hate to say that this is true because it's disgusting. 98% of people across the world have been manipulated to think that they are enemies, mortal enemies, when really they are mortal partners with the same goal from the inception. from creation. They are two peas in a pod. And if one person just watches this video, I encourage you to verify. Look it up yourself. Just start asking questions. And I think you're going to quickly find that I'm not full of crap. And then once you figure that out and you find that out and you verify me, I hope you go and you start telling everybody you know the truth. And everybody's going to think you're insane. Everybody's going to think you are crazy. But it doesn't matter what they think. Because if it's the truth, it's the truth, and it needs to be said. It gets really frustrating as a person, as an individual, when I see things. And then I tell people, not because I'm trying to look smart or be smart or come off as contrary to normal belief, but it's because I'm trying to give people information that I've learned, that I found out. And after long periods of just looking and paying attention and waiting for responses, and then you start seeing a pattern. And you can't ignore the pattern if the pattern it repeats itself every single time. If you ignore it, you're doing it out of ignorance, willful ignorance. And I decided a long time ago, I would rather look crazy and speak the truth than be a coward and hide my head like a turtle every time I saw somebody. There's one of my favorite songs ever, if not my favorite. There's a song by Frank Sinatra. It's probably the greatest song ever. It's called My Way. And the lyrics are deep lyrics. I'm going to read my favorite part of the song that actually gets me emotional. And it's such a deep song, man. Okay, look. For what is a man? I sing horrible, by the way, so forgive me, please. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Doo-doo-doo-doo. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. To say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. When you don't say the truth because you're too afraid of what people are going to think about you, you're a coward. When you know something is true because you put the time, the effort to look into it, and you refuse to say it because you are afraid of what people are going to think about you, what they're going to say about you, you are a coward. You have been trained to be a coward. It doesn't matter where you learned this behavior. You're a coward. Most people in the world are cowards. The problem with life is not nothing else other than just a bunch of freaking cowards. I have 4 boys and I push them every day to not be cowardly. Because as a person, there is nothing worse. God hates cowards. God hates cowards. It's in the freaking Bible. And I believe it. I believe that that passage is true. You will be punished for being a coward. We've been manipulated. We have been manipulated. These are 2 peas in the pod. It's a snake with 2 heads. Problem, reaction, solution. These people are masters at it. But they can only get away with it if we had a government, politicians who are willing to play into it to sell us out. Because they were promised. They were promised. They were promised riches. They were promised everything they want if they willfully participated and sold out their citizens. And it wasn't just our government. It was every single government. And the ones that don't give in are the ones that we start war with. You want to know why we're at war with certain countries? Why the world is at war with certain countries? Well, it's because they refuse to be cowards and bend the knee. That's just the way it is, man. We've all been played. When I served my four years, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that everything I did, everything I served for was out of just to protect my family, to protect fellow Americans, to protect my kids. I was just a pawn, an unknowing pawn on a chessboard. We're all pawns. We're all being played. But the crazy thing, man, and this is what you're going to find, is there's many times a single pawn is stronger than the accumulation of all pieces. Because once that pawn reaches the end of the board, that pawn transforms into something greater than. And if you have an accumulation of pawns that work together and they move up the board together, it doesn't matter what piece is against them. It could be the queen. Those pawns will take out that queen and ultimately checkmate the king. So that's really what I have to say about that. The last thing I want to talk about are, and this is going to throw a lot of people off, probably not more than what I just said. But I think I'm the only person that's going to say this. But I, for one, I am so happy that California, New York, and all these Democrat states are fighting Trump in court. I'm really happy that they're fighting Trump in court because what they're really saying is the federal government is too big and too strong, and we have states' rights. Think about that. Think about that, guys. Without them knowing, they are making the case for less federal government and stronger states' rights. Isn't that what we all have been asking for as conservatives, as Republicans, as independents? Without them knowing, they are making the case for states' rights and for limited federal intervention. These Democrat states unknowingly are trying to dismantle what they will use or attempt to use in the future when they regain federal power. They are making it to where Texas, Oklahoma, all the Republican states will have a stronger standing ground to tell the federal government under Democrat rule to F off. They're doing God's work and they don't even know it. They're only doing it out of spite for President Trump. But this benefits every single American. This benefits every single state. Everything that's happening is good for America. I hope they win some of these cases and they strengthen states' rights. Because when one state strengthens, they all strengthen. And it doesn't matter who's the president. It could be Republican, it could be a Democrat, it could be Mamdani, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Mitch McConnell, any one of these sellouts. And it doesn't matter. Because the states will have more authority to look the federal government in the eye and say, F off. These idiots are ultimately kneecapping themselves once they regain power. And they will regain power sometime. And they will attempt to maximize federal power to submit states. But because of what they're doing right now, because they're playing politics and they're not looking at the long game, they're essentially setting up the stage, the foundation for them to kneecap themselves. And I'm all for it. I am 1,000,000% for it. I encourage it. I hope they win some of these cases. It might be bad for MAGA. It might be bad right now for Republicans and trying to get things done. But for the overall purpose, it will be a bigger win. Because a Democrat will get back in power. Maybe there will be a Gavin Newsom administration. And mark my words, if or when somebody like a Gavin Newsom comes into power, they will attempt to maximize and flex every millimeter of their authority. And what they're doing today will give all states the ground to look him in the eye, look any radical, crazy person in the eye and say, F off. We are the state of Tennessee. Stay in your lane. So I'm all for it. Sometimes when you lose, you actually win. And sometimes when you win, you actually lose. I'll give you an example. I used to coach my kids' soccer team. Some of the best times I ever had. It was fun. There were times where we just played a team that sucked. They sucked. And we would blow them out 10, 12-0. We won that game, but we actually lost. You know why we lost? Because when you win like that and you win so big and so massive, you become arrogant. You become cocky. You start thinking you're too good. You can't lose. And then when you play a team that's similar in skill, but it's a team you should beat. But you go in so arrogant, so cocky, that you don't go in with the mindset to play your hardest. You don't go in with the mindset to win. You go in with the mindset that the game's already lost because you're too good. You see how one win ended up in us losing? But then you have the opposite effect. There were some teams that were just really good, really good, really good. Like when we play the All-Star team. And then you just have my team made up of a bunch of kids that weren't exceptional. But I taught them to work hard, push hard, do their best. I embedded it. I embedded that. Blah, 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 blah. I put it in their heads. No matter what, we do not quit. We fight till the very last second. I don't care if we're down 10-0 and there's 1 minute left. You play your ass off the entire time. And there was one or two games where it was close. 4-3, 1-2. You understand? Games that we should have been destroyed in. But we fought hard. Or maybe we were winning 4-2 and it was almost there. But the other team, they figured it out, they got it together, and then they made that comeback, and in the final minute, they scored and they took the win. Yeah, we lost that game. But you know what that game did? That game showed us that if we compete, we have a chance. If we compete, we can win. If we don't quit, if we don't go into this game with the mindset that we are already going to lose, we still have a chance no matter the odds. So yeah, we lost, but we won. Because when we played another team that should have just wiped the floor with us, we won. You know why? Because that loss made my boys and my girls, because it was a co-ed team, because they were like 7, 8 years old. It made them believe, like, wow, if we can play against them and almost win, why can't we win this one? Because this team's not as good as them. And we almost won. We were right there. We lost it in the final freaking second. We lost that game. But we won up here. And then we took that to the next game. And then we won. When we should have lost. Sometimes a loss is a win. Sometimes a win is a loss. And so just because it's a loss short term doesn't mean it's a loss long term. I encourage these states to keep fighting Trump. Keep flexing their authority. Because what they're ultimately doing is they're setting the foundation for stronger states' rights and weaker federal government. And that's what we all have been asking about. That's what Ron Paul has been talking about. That's what his son, supposedly Rand Paul, has been preaching about. Isn't that what we all want? A weaker federal government, a smaller federal government, and stronger state governments to make their own choices, to be able to protect its own citizens against some tyrant president or tyrant federal government. They're doing God's work and they don't even know it. But they're doing it only because they hate Trump. It has nothing else to do with anything else. It's not because they're fighting the good fight. No. It's just a FU to President Trump. And because of that, they are weakening their position when they regain federal power. And I'm all for it, guys. So that's pretty much what I have. I know there was a couple other things, but I can't remember what they are. I'm having trouble, nothing's popping up right now. That's all I can say. I really do hope somebody listens to this and kind of has that aha moment that I had. And I hope when you do, and if you come to the same conclusion, I hope that, in the words of Frank Sinatra, to say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who kneels. To say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who kneels. Thank you for your time, guys.